Well, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Work Love. Whew. I am sporting vintage Work Love. This is like back when Work Love first launched. The tagline was, "Do what you love and love what you do." So, good stuff there. So, the time is 4:44, so we're going to go ahead and get started. We're going to start with our pause practice. We're going to incorporate another healing sound. We're going to do a healing sound, the foo sound, which is responsible for helping to release fear. I think that we can all agree there is fear around us right now with the current circumstances. But there's also fear that we possess that we've carried with us. So this sound is very healing. I use it a lot to kind of clear out a lot of fear that I've been holding for years, for decades, for most of my life. On top of that, my children use this. So right now, my 5-year-old, when she has scary dreams or scary thoughts, as she says at night, she will actually do this sound, and it's that soothing. We're going to do it in the proper way, which is deep abdominal breathing, where we're filling our belly on the inhale and then letting it fall on the exhale. But when we're doing this, we're actually focusing on the kidneys. The kidneys is where fear lives, according to Chinese medicine, which are, back in this area on each side of the spine. So we're going to imagine that lower back part of our body is being filled with a navy blue, almost black light, which is the healing, powerful color. So whichever one you gravitate towards, but that navy, that kind of delicious navy kind of color that's just nurturing those kidneys. So when you inhale this navy light, you feel it warming and filling that lower part of the back. And then on the exhale, we'll be doing this gentle foo sound. Okay? So, hey, for good measure, let's do 5. Okay? All right, so here we go. Start with your first deep abdominal breath in, slowly filling the belly, seeing that navy light filling up the kidneys. Hold the breath once you've inhaled as much as possible, and then gently let's exhale out. Foo. So it should be this gentle kind of nurturing sound. Let's go ahead and move to the second breath. Inhale. Foo. Again. Foo. Again. Foo. And one more time. Foo. Good. Awesome job. So helping to release some fear, helping to kind of settle, and really be open to, what we're going to be talking about and how it's going to resonate within you. So I titled this episode SuperCharged Intuition. So if you remember last week, we had the crow reveal itself again from a completely separate deck. So in a separate deck, we had the crow show up once more, telling us that those lessons from the week before were not done. They're going to be hanging out and they're going to be kind of percolating. And that really encompasses what I experienced this past week. I think that a lot of things that were bubbling up that needed to be released happened. A lot of emotional releases, if I want to put it that way, that felt heightened. Usually for me, when I have heightened emotional releases, they happen through tears. That's kind of my MO. I cry, which tears are a beautiful release. It's taken me a long time to realize that they're not a sign of weakness. They're a beautiful release and help further my strength. So the crow was just saying that its work is not done. It's still going to be there. But then we had this beautiful card that showed up, this owl spirit. It's a beautiful card. And this card talked about trusting your inner wisdom. And also referenced how our sensitivities and intuition can be supercharged during this time, which hint to why I call the episode what I did. So one of the really amazing things about this time is that we can engage in practices. We can spend time on our own and really focus on listening inward, turning inward for direction and guidance, especially right now when there's not a lot of guidance happening out in the world, or there's a lot of people talking, but we don't really know what is the path forward. And really the answer for you lies within you. It's what your truth is. It's how that resonates for you. And so I think that, the uniqueness of this time, we're going on, for me, it's like 7 weeks or something like that I've been in quarantine. But during that time frame, I have been able to heighten my sensitivities to a whole nother level, to feel energy in a way that I really didn't before, because I was distracted as my days kind of went on. And so that is something that is really really stood out to me. The other piece of this that really stood out to me as I kind of processed the owl and the crow and the balance or the dance in between the two of them is I still have a really deep internal turmoil or conflict between trusting my inner wisdom and living up to what I believe the outside world wants me to be / do. So things like, to be successful, you've got to do these certain things. But maybe my intuition is telling me something that is completely the opposite to that. And thinking, well, what if I'm wrong and I go down this path and then I end up being unsuccessful? And so I have that debate happening all the time. And one of which, Monday was my birthday. And I didn't really treat it on my agenda as a special day. As you get older, you see that kind of happening more and more, I think. But what I did do, what I actually ended up doing was taking it as a day of rest. But I had this list of stuff I wanted to accomplish, and I was really kind of beating myself up and having a sense of guilt for not working on those items. And there was nothing that was so pressing that the world was going to end. There was no deadlines that were set by anybody but me. So there was nobody that I was being held accountable to. It was all just me. And I struggled with that. And that is just a recognition of where I am. And it's interesting how the crow and the owl kind of represent, the crow kind of where I am at this moment, and the owl of where I want to get to, where I want to be. So that was just something interesting, I think. The other thing that I thought was really fascinating for the owl. So when I started this, we're in like week 5 of bringing back work love. I started with the animal inspired decks because I thought that all of our lives would be populated with these animals that presented themselves showing up in these really random ways, because that's how animals typically do their thing with me, which is why I really feel connected or called to them. It's very likely for me to look at a random animal that shows up and associate a sign with it. Like, for example, we have a woodpecker that no matter what we do will not go away. And I looked up the meaning of a woodpecker, and it really resonated with some of the things that me and my family are going through right now. So the same thing with like wild turkeys and peacocks. They just show up everywhere. Flamingos, as we talked about earlier. That didn't really happen too much this month, and I was a little disappointed. I'm not gonna lie. I'm a little disappointed in that. But the owl, it's really interesting because yesterday I was actually scrolling through my Instagram feed. That's the only real social media that I kind of aimlessly scroll through. And I paused on Colette Baron-Reid's post. So Colette is the creator of the deck that we've been using or pulled the cards from last week, the Spirit Animal Oracle. She has several decks that are out there, and she usually does daily readings. So if you're really digging these kinds of readings, any of these creators of the decks usually do some sort of daily reading. So she did a daily reading, and it happened to be the owl. So another owl showing up from another deck. So same thing like the crows, except this is coming from another Colette deck. And the card was titled Truth Be Told. And so here's what she had in the post as far as the message that it shared. There is the truth, which is the essence of a thing. And then there is a philosophical truth, subjective according to the adherent or believer. This is not a time for debate about which truth is truer. This is a time when you are called to proclaim it out loud and be willing to be transparent, honest, and open in your communication with others and with yourself. Nothing less than surrender to the essence of what is, peeling off the layers of denial that kept you tied to an illusion will set you free. Be authentic and gloriously flawed, and spirit will answer the miracles. The message really solidified for me kind of the takeaway that I just told you about the dance between the crow and the owl, and how the crow is kind of signifying where I am, but the owl representing where I want to be. And this card almost kind of gave a little missing piece of talking about how this act of surrender and peeling off the layers of denial to be free, which I think is essentially where I want to be. But the owl showed up again. And then I realized that I put this picture of an owl in my bedroom not too long ago, probably 3 months ago, that I found actually at a Pier 1 store locally that's going out of business. And it really spoke to me. I'm not like a huge owl fan, but there was something about this image, and I put it right beside my bed, and it's almost like he's watching over me. And now here's these powerful imagery of this vision that this owl represents of being free and getting there, peeling off these layers of denial and surrendering. So it's really beautiful. And so I'm appreciative for the fact that I had high expectations, but then the owl kind of delivers and brings it home. So we're going to begin by transitioning gears for the next 5 weeks of our series. We're going to do it from a deck from a woman by the name of Chris Carr. The deck is called Crazy Sexy Love Notes by Chris Carr. Let's see if I can do that with the light. And I was really inspired by the fact that Chris Carr actually is doing a 7-day self-care challenge. So she's giving like a simple self-care act and encouraging people to do it. And there's like private community that she's hosting. But she is kind of a self-care guru, and she's heavily encouraging that during this time. And so, the first 5 weeks, we talked about these reflective prompts to kind of help us jumpstart looking inward. Now I want to spend the next 5 weeks looking for inspiration for taking care of ourselves. And on the back here, it says, in this card deck, you will find 52 notes to help you care for yourself at the deepest level. Let these love notes guide you back home when you lose your way and remind you to nourish yourself, notice the blessings, share your gifts, and choose love. So, yeah. So we're going to do these crazy, sexy love notes, and they're really beautiful too. These don't come with a book, so they basically have a image, and then the message is actually on the back. So all these decks are different. And once again, bringing these decks in because they're one of my favorite tools since I've started on my personal journey. And want to share them with you. So let's see what card we'll get today. All right. Oh. That is our first card. It says Believe. Has a unicorn. It's beautiful pinks. It's like it's marching through a meadow. The back of the card says, there's magic all around you. Open up to the wonders of the universe. Notice the connections and synchronicities. Follow your feelings and believe with all your heart. We successfully manifest our dreams when our feelings are in alignment with our plans. From that sacred union, the right ideas take shape, the best relationships blossom, and the stuff that's meant to be easily falls into place. Everything is possible. So really simply, I believe with the believe card, I believe that this card is asking us to look at the connections and the synchronicities around us. You know, one of the lessons that I learned a long time ago, but made a huge change in my life, when we're forcing something to happen, it's usually not meant to happen. Things will easily fall into place when we're on the right path and when we're in alignment. But so this week, we're going to be looking for connections and synchronicities to show us basically the path of least resistance, and question if that is the path that's most aligned for where we want to end up. You know, these dreams that we want to manifest. And the other piece of that I will say is be open to when you have a dream that you want to manifest. Don't be so tight on the form and the shape of what that has to materialize like. Because I have found that usually what's waiting for us is way better than we could ever imagine. It could take shape in ways that's so much better than we can imagine. So there's the card for this week. Thank you, Miss Chris Carr, for our beautiful inspiration. And then we're going to close out. So we're going to close out actually with a Qigong exercise that is kind of more traditional. It's the Taoist Yin exercise for the lungs. And the reason I want to do this, number one, this week, locally, allergies have been really bad, and I've felt it a lot in my lungs. That's where it hits. Dealing with breathing issues. I'm asthmatic, all that kind of stuff. But the lungs are also very key in the immune system. And we talked about this before. And with the virus that is going around, I want to make sure I give you what I can to make sure it's taking care of your immune system. So we're going to do this lung exercise. It's really simple. It's also a really great way to see if your heightened senses have truly heightened and you can feel the energy. Because sometimes people will tell me they feel the energy on their fingertips when this happens. So to do this exercise, we're going to bring our hands up to the chest. Palms will be facing down. And then we'll slowly extend our arms out. Flip the palms upward. And then bring them back in. So the simple act of pulling out what does not serve us and bringing in new, nourishing chi energy. The one thing I love about this exercise is if it is uncomfortable, it is usually a sign that your lung meridian, which is the energetic pathway for the lungs, needs some extra nurturing. And during this time, I think it's really important to pay attention to this meridian and knowing that you can work it doing this very simple exercise. Going slowly. Let's do 2 more. And then you can bring your hands down. Take a moment to notice how the body feels. And that's it. That's all I got for today. Thank you for joining me for this Work Love Wednesday and joining me as we paused, we revisited, we reflected, and we practiced. So join me next week. I look forward to hearing how your connections and synchronicities show up and also sharing with you and then doing a little bit of a pause and a practice. Thank you. Have a great day. Bye.